They want to punch me in the face. Apparently, I have a very punchable face. But yeah, I have to ask, almost beg them to give me negative feedback because they don't want to. And I'm like, guys, you're not going to hurt the relationship we have over here because this thing sucks. If this thing sucks, tell me. Yeah. That's going to be way more helpful. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, your host, joined per usual by Gary Voigt. Hello, sir.
Hey.
More importantly, we are joined by David Watkins, not to be confused with Dave. We have a similar thing. Don't call us Dave. That's right. He is the founder of Plan My Kids. Welcome to the podcast. I'm sorry in advance.
So glad to be here. Shirley, it's an honor. And please don't call me Shirley.
Nice. All right. So, we've already broken the ice, but we like to start with a few easy questions. Let's get things going.
Wait, let's just respect the airplane joke too. Good job, David.
I missed it. That's okay. Just pretend I'm not here. It'd be better. All right. Favorite dessert?
Creme brulee.
Ooh, interesting. Are you a road trip guy or rather fly there guy?
Both, but I have a limit, right? So if it's more than 5 hours, I'm flying.
You're flying. Okay.
Yeah. But if it's within 5 hours.
So loading the kids and the fam in the car for a 3-day road trip to Arizona, that's not going to fly. That's not going to happen.
We're getting on an airplane. Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, we do a 2-day trip to Dallas every year. My wife loves it. The drive is her favorite part.
Some people love it. My folks moved from upstate New York to North Carolina when I was young, and they would make that trip, 14-hour trip back, and I hated it. Maybe that's why. Because I hated it as a kid. So I'm not going to put my kids through that. We got my kids on an airplane pretty early in life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my kids started flying when they were wee tots. Absolutely. And it's good to do that because when they're too old, it gets hard. One of our guys, I flew him to a client meeting, and it was the first time he had ever been on a plane, over 30 years old. And I was like, I feel honored that I put you on the plane for the very first time. Yeah. Hi, Scott. You don't listen anyways, but that's okay.
All right, last one. That was Scott. Yeah,
that was Scott for sure.
It's the first.
All right. Things. Favorite type of music. Gary says this is going to tell us a lot about you, so I'm excited. Let's go.
Type of music. So you're looking for a genre. So I grew up in the 90s, so the sort of classic indie is what I grew up with. The Smiths, New Order, The Cure.
Good answer.
We're reaching a high point here. Tell me about Plan My Kids.
Yeah. Plan My Kids makes planning kids' activities easy for busy working parents. We do this by providing a marketplace that's essentially concierge, and we use a vast network of partners, and we curate it through an AI assistant. In a nutshell, if you've got kids who are looking to go somewhere and don't know what to do with them, we'll help you figure that out.
So is it like date night for kiddos? Awesome. Does that mean that you're planning like a date night with the fam?
It could be you're looking to go out, like parent night out, and you're looking for a parent night out situation. We started with summer camp planning because it's the hardest of things for parents to plan because you've got
spring break,
multiple weeks, that was, track outs, spring breaks, fall breaks, winter breaks.
Okay. And what is there's coding camps nowadays and like robots and there's and sports, everything. Are you all everything?
Yeah, we cater to children that have interests of all types, from cooking and baking to arts and crafts to sports, outdoor activities. Whatever your kids are interested in, there's probably something out there that they're interested in.
So you guys are curating, you're not producing any of this content. Is that the future for y'all, or?
We work with the providers of those programs so that we can help get them matched with parents. So we're like where we do matchmaking basically for parents that are trying to figure out what's out there for their kids. So you happen to know New Life Camp, but maybe your kid was interested in something else, but you weren't sure what was available that was out there. So we'll help make sure that we can find what you're looking for. And we modeled it similarly. Fundamentally, it's a marketplace underneath, but we put a concierge service over top of it because it turns out when we went to talk to parents, it was less about buying like a product like in a normal marketplace, but more like planning travel, especially for summer camps. So you think about, hey, I'm going on a vacation. I got a budget. I got some dates I'm interested. I got some things I want to do. Maybe I want to go with somebody. And it's like that for summer camps. I got kids. They got interests. I got some dates I got to plan for. Maybe they want to go with their friend down the street. I got a budget. So how am I going to fit all that in? And so we modeled it as a concierge service.
Now, is there a fee involved, or is it more like a travel agent where the places give you a little something to connect?
Yeah. So our business revenue model is on both sides. So parents pay for the value of productivity and doing things faster for them and servicing things they maybe weren't aware of. And then we also take a commission from the businesses that provide those services.
Nice. So how long have you guys been around?
We've been around for 5 years.
5 years. So are you guys, did you bootstrap this? Did you take some money? Are you on a runway? How's it looking for you?
Yeah, bootstrapped, doing it all on my own right now and hoping to get a little bit of fuel to take it. Marketplaces are just fundamentally capital hard, right? You've got the typical issues with marketplace of chicken and egg, getting supply and demand matched up. Being able to grow nationally is going to take some money. So we're going to.
Nice. Yeah, when we've obviously, as Big Pixel, built lots of two-sided markets like this. And what we find is the vendors, in your case, the camps and whatnot, are relatively easy. They're fine. They're fine with signing up and paying you that commission because you're just free marketing for them or cheap marketing for them. If you work out, great. If you don't, it's fine. They're still doing their thing. The hard one is the consumers. Or is that true for you as well?
Actually, it's the other way around in this particular industry. Yeah. And so we started the marketplace focusing on the parent because we felt like that was the harder pain to solve, to your point. And we've tried different pricing strategies and we've proven that parents are willing to pay. The right model is basically a freemium problem for some things and a premium for more features. On the supply side of it, there's just some industry challenges in this space. So there are standards for how you buy physical goods, for example. There aren't any standards on how you purchase these types of services. A lot of these services are tech savvy at all. So they don't have a lot of technology in place to facilitate the process. So you're right in that they're like, yeah, I'd love for you to bring business. That's a no-brainer. But when it comes to the hard plumbing of saying, hey, I've got a parent, I'm going to get them registered in your program. That's where the hard comes in.
Yeah, I can imagine there's a lot of those camps that it's almost, they might be one step away from paper, maybe, but certainly there's not an API or something to hook into to do anything.
Yeah, especially if they're like a spring camp or a summer camp like program that's run by like volunteers from a network that are just putting it together. They don't really have, it's not a thing that they do all year round. Like those kind of situations, I could see friction with trying to get information from them and then information to them.
Yeah, we're in this the industry in a whole is like in this adolescent stage. I would say 10 years ago, there was no software that these businesses were using at all to manage their back office. But in the last 10 years, there's a few, but those software platforms are still immature as well. So it's easier to solve for the paper business because you're like anything you give them is good. But it's the ones that have something in place and like, but I need you to get that information into this, but it doesn't, to your point, have the APIs and the things. The only thing we can.
So what inspired this idea 5 years ago?
I'm a parent too. And as much as I didn't think that our household played by traditional gender roles, the truth of the matter is my wife at the time was doing all the sledding for the kids. And then one summer she's, okay, you take one kid, I'll take the other. And that's when I was like, this sucks. This is hard. And I come from an e-commerce background. So I've helped companies like Levi's and Maui Gyms create these beautiful omni-channel experiences. And so I'm like, why is it so easy for me to find and purchase sunglasses and jeans, but I can't do this for my kids? So anyway, so I thought maybe we can help myself and help other parents in the process.
Nice. You say now, I see this under your LinkedIn profile, leading innovation with AI and FamTech. Mm-hmm. What does that mean in your world?
So when I started the business, AI wasn't a thing and technology wasn't even the hard part. We built marketplaces. With the marketplace, technology wasn't the hard part. We did have to add some things for the planning component of this because it wasn't just adding something to a shopping cart. There was a process that had to happen for that. solved with technology, but it was really just workflow at the end of the day. And then AI came along, and then it was like, oh my gosh, this is a game changer. And like most people, again, I'll date myself in the 90s. So I've seen a big transformation. I used to be a software developer a long time ago. So my first program was using like a beta version of Netscape, right? Helping building an intranet site. So I've seen that. And I worked in a company that helped with cloud solutions. So when I saw AI come along, I was like, this is the next big thing. And so how can we work that into not only maybe the business processes you're doing, but how can we work that into the product? And so we were pretty fortunate when OpenAI came out with their models, they were toying around with how they were going to commercialize this. And so they used to be called plugins back then. And it was like Expedia came out with one, and they had a few big companies that they were promoting. And so we were able to get into the program pretty early to basically develop an OpenAI plugin so that if you were in ChatGPT and you were trying to find children's services, you could actually connect with our plugin, and it would actually get the data that you actually needed, because that was the hard part. Because at the time, the LLMs, again, back then, initially, like it was all historical data that they were using to train their models. Now, obviously, they can access the internet, but even then, they're not getting the most up-to-date information. We really leaned into AI, and so we built Mia, which is basically a virtual assistant that sits inside Play My Kids that parents can talk to, like any other chatbot, and they can use it to not only do research, but it also interacts with the platform. They can add things and take things off the platform. So it has tools now that you can actually add and drop. It's just the start. It's just the beginning for sure, because I think it's got a ways to go. I think Brian Chesney of Airbnb early on was saying his issue with AI was the user interface, that he felt like that it was still very textual based and that it needed more visual components to that. And so we're still going through the process of what is the visual component look like for parents. And
you mean it's not just slapping on a chatbot? That's not how that works?
It's not just
see, Gary, I was right. It's not just a chatbot.
Yeah.
Why are you targeting me? I didn't say anything about a chatbot.
Just saying, I had to help you with design. You just wanted to make everything a chatbot. So, I was just telling you.
So I'd like to think that we had the first, and it was a chatbot, because that's what they were early. We had the first one for Planning Kids activities. So I think I can claim that. I don't know of any other ones that was.
Yeah, I mean, it's true as far as, hey, that's great.
As far as I know, yes.
So if you had 5 years from now, you warp 5 years and you've had no major hurdles, where would Plan My Kids be?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, the company's pretty mission and vision driven. So that was part of my goal. So our vision actually was to enrich the lives of kids, because I felt at the time that some of the societal challenges that we had were that kids weren't getting out and being around other kids, like them or not like them. So we wanted to build something that would enable that, with the mission of empowering or enabling parents so that they could do that for their kids. And we wanted to do that as broad as possible, starting regionally, growing nationally, and then in other parts of the world that need this. So from a mission and vision, that's what we want to do. We ultimately want to be the infrastructure to enable parents to find, plan, and purchase activities for their kids.
So in 5 years, if all things went well, you're just much bigger.
And we're achieving our vision and mission. So as long as decisions that we make are always around, is it going to achieve the mission and vision of the company? I don't really care how we do it. In fact, we're a little bit I wouldn't get a pivoted, called a two-way door, but less on the marketplace and more on the plumbing that needs to happen. As I mentioned earlier, I think that's one of the biggest challenges. If you're a competitor to Play My Kids, if you're another marketplace in another part of the country, you're going to have the same problem. I think that's where the bigger challenge is. And again, so that's what we're looking at right now. It's how can we make this?
Big Pixel builds world-class custom software and amazing apps. Our team of pros puts passion into every one of our projects. Our design-infused development leans heavily on delivering a great experience for our clients and their clients. From startups to enterprises, we can help craft your ideas into real-world products that help your business do better business.
So when I started playing my kids, I had a little book of problems and I write them down. I'm an engineer by trade, so I see a problem, I write it down. And the planning kids activities is one for my personal life. The other one I had was around, I've done 2 remodels on my house. And so that was a nightmare. And so I was like, wait, maybe there's a better way for me to manage the construction process. And so I started talking to some people I knew that were general contractors and like, David, like culturally, like subs, they don't use an iPhone. Like they don't like, and this was like 6-7 years ago, but it's like cultural, like that's your biggest hurdle, was getting people to actually use the technology when they just want to be more verbal or just call me on the phone. You're right. Sometimes your users are ready. I would say for parents, and there's some data on this, but parents are actually, as far as using AI, on average, I don't know what the numbers, I can give you the link to the study, but compared to most people, on average, parents actually use AI more. And I think it's because of all the pain we parents have, and they're just looking for ways to solve the problem. And they're willing to try AI.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's a great tool for those really weird questions you only get as a parent. That's for sure. That is for sure. So I wanted to pivot a little bit. You mentioned that you were in one of the inaugural class for the Founders Institute. Tell me about that. Tell me what is involved with that.
Yeah, the Founder Institute, it's one of the, I don't know, at least top 5 accelerators probably in the world. It's one of the larger ones. And I had already started playing my kids, but as I mentioned, so I got to 0 to 1 myself. And I realized that in order to achieve the goals that I was going to need some capital to do it and bootstrap. So the Founder Institute it's a pre-seed accelerator. So their goal is to get you in a position to be a fundable business. And so the first year that they had a chapter here in North Carolina, I was able to apply and I was accepted and was able to go through that program and graduate. So it's a great asset for the community, and they're still having cohorts. So I encourage people to apply for the next.
We just interviewed, and Gary reminded me, I was like, I know we've just recently spoken to someone of the Founders Institute, and it was Oz Merchant. He was just so much fun to talk to. We talked afterwards. We have a lot in common, and we had coffee for an hour and a half of just chatting. It was great. But he's a big deal. I didn't ask him specifically about that. He was talking about his startup, but he's a pretty big deal over there. And he's a great startup guy. If he's involved, that's good stuff.
Yeah, the program itself takes you from basically building a business model, doing customer interviews, getting your first prototype built, getting that feedback, and then most importantly, getting your ducks in a row so that you can go pitch investors. So
but you'd already been around for a little while. Hadn't you done a lot of that? Did you find the content to be a bit redundant at all? You've been doing it for a while, right?
Yeah. So that I went into the program thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. I've already done all this stuff. And it certainly was helpful, but it's also good to give it another lookie. So you had this idea and you built a 3-year plan from it, and then you dust it off again and go through it. And so you tweak it a little bit. So it was a good exercise to go back, revise things, update some things, validate some things, say, oh yeah, we've already unvalidated this, take this off the list. So it was a good exercise to do that. Yeah. Every week it's a lot of work. It's more, but I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this done in no time. And then I'd be up late Sunday night trying to finish it.
Sometimes there's a reason they call them fundamentals, right? It's like people like to skip over it. Oh, this is the easy stuff. This is just a bunch of words on a piece of paper. But man, those pillars that you build a business on, that hasn't changed. That's where I was talking to someone the other day, and I'm really bad at attribution. Business is the same. It's someone's buying something. How you get there, how you entice them, how you market them, all that might change with AI or whatever. But at the end of the day, business is the same. It's been for thousands of years. It's connecting people. It's getting them enticed by whatever it is you're selling. And those kinds of things those foundations are still the same. Even in our fast-paced, crazy, breakneck world, it's still the same. And yeah, I find the same thing. So we have a little startup that we're working on, and I'm applying for we're not raising money, so we're not applying for those specifically, but I'm doing those same applications, asking those same questions, and they have that same content. And I'm like, but I've already built my prototype. Like, it's already out the door. I've got a beta going. And I'm like, I'm betting I still have a ton to learn here. And it's easy to put on your ego and think, oh, I'm good at this. But I know those founders and those mentors are just going to shred me. And I look forward to it in a way.
Yeah. Learning is a continuous process. So, yeah. And you do have to put your ego down and let people, I think that's hard for people. It's like, why are you calling my baby ugly?
Dude, what's funny you say that. So our pilots for our little thing have been big pixel clients. And I joke, it's like working with your mom because they're very supportive and they're kind. And I'm like, no, I need someone to kick me in the teeth and tell me this product is bad and why it's bad so I can make it better. Just telling me, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Not helpful.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. So in your prompts, do you say, please be really critical and mean to me?
Yeah, just punch me in the face. And some people, like Gary, really enjoy that. They want to punch me in the face. Apparently, I have a very punchable face. But yeah, I have to ask, almost beg them to give me negative feedback because they don't want to. And I'm like, guys, you're not going to hurt the relationship we have over here because this thing sucks. If this thing sucks, tell me. And that's going to be way more helpful.
Now, David, you mentioned that you use AI a lot in the app, and then also from a business standpoint behind the scenes. How much is AI infused to the way you run the business?
Yeah, early on, a lot of it was around content. So in building the business marketplace, content was important to bring people in to the platform. So we did a lot with helping come up with what's right on our blog, helping edit the blog. What's interesting, early on, there was a lot of blowback on should you give AI credit if you wrote something. And so early on, we would write in our blogs, this blog post was right exact words, but it was like, we used AI, but everything was edited and approved by real people, which I think in anything, I think the idea of what's the term I'm looking for? It's like human in the middle AI, or what is it? There's another term.
Human in the loop.
Human in the loop, I think, is so key. And that's true with anything. Like, if you just take what you're going to get out of AI verbatim, like, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So you've got to have some human intervention in there to see. Again, it's an easy task that's just like binary. Maybe that's okay, but most cases you've got to. So early on, it was mostly around helping us create more content. As a solopreneur, it's like you wear so many hats. I'm not a creative writer. That's not what I went to school for. So AI was super helpful in doing things like that. And then it was around, gosh, anything. Anytime you would think, oh, I have to do this task, because, okay, how can AI help me do this more efficiently? And when I graduated the Founder Institute, I don't remember, I guess AI was a thing then, but I can see how people would just use AI to do all that stuff. But again, if you don't, the thing about, and I feel really bad for kids who've graduated now, they have great opportunity because of AI. But I think the thing that I'm most concerned about is, like, I can prompt AI to do things for me more efficiently because I've done them before myself. And so I know what the inputs and the outputs are. I just want to shorten that, right? I just want to get that done faster. And so it's like when you in school, like when you learned arithmetic, like you were taught what addition was. And then at the end of that chapter, there was a word problem, right? And you could only do the word problem if you knew the fundamentals. And I feel like AI is like, how can you go and prompt things and understand what the output is if you don't know the fundamentals? And so I think it'll be interesting to see how our education system adapts to that in the future. But I feel fortunate now that I have all these frameworks and just historical knowledge of things that I can use to get the things that I want out of AI and to be able to check it to know that it's going in the right direction. Where if you don't have that, I don't know, I just feel like you'd be lost.
I was just reading an article of the Harvard Business Review, and they were talking about, they did this big study because that's what they do. And they gave an assignment to expert writers, people who were tangentially around writing, like marketers, but they weren't writers themselves. And then they gave technical people who weren't writers at all. And they gave them an assignment, each the same assignment. And they had judges over here, like real experts, magazine editors and stuff like that, choose the best ones and rank them. And they found that, of course, the writers with no AI, the writers they chose the best topic. And then the adjacent did pretty well, and the technology was lagging behind. And then they said, okay, let's give them all AI. And now we're talking about choosing a topic. And the writers did marginally better. The marketers, the adjacent people, jumped actually ahead of the writers in choosing a topic. And the technology people jumped up. They were still behind, but they jumped a big thing, choosing the content or the topic to write on. Right. Then they said, okay, now write it. And long story short, the writers jumped ahead again. The marketers were close, within shooting distance, and the technologists were off in the just doldrums. And they came to the conclusion of the further you are away from whatever you're doing, the less AI can help you. And they're saying, why did they able to choose good topics? And they're saying, well, it's kind of learning about a marathon, understanding a marathon, and then doing a marathon. You can learn all about stuff, and technologists can learn, hey, I need good shoes, I need this, that, and the other. But then actually going and doing it when they've never done that before, it overwhelmed them, and their scores dropped, and the difference was quite large. What was interesting is so if you're not a creative writer like you are, then someone's got to make you so good, and I thought that was really interesting. But if you're pretty okay at it, it can make you really good. And I think that's something to learn from. From my perspective, it's like the vibe coding, right? This is the bane of my existence right now. If you don't know technology at all, vibe coding is going to give you slop and trash. If you're adjacent, though, so you don't have to be a full-on programmer like I have been for 25 years. We can make great software with or without AI. But now if you're adjacent to it, maybe you were a low coder before, you have a little bit of knowledge, you can now do something pretty decent. But if you're just a regular Joe, you're not going to just suddenly magically be able to create this great piece of software. And I think there's a lot of hype, misinformation around that. It's like anybody, and there's all these ads, you see it everywhere. Anybody can build software just with a prompt. And I'm using software just because that's my world, but every world has the equivalent.
Yeah, it's just if you don't know it, it's just a black box, and like you just don't know what's in it.
You don't know what good looks
machinations. Like. You don't know the machinations that are going on in there, and then something comes out, and you can't judge the quality of it.
Yeah. When the vibe coding thing first started, and they started introducing it into design programs, and the designer hype was like, "Oh, now we don't need engineers; we could just go straight from design to finished product." And everybody designed a color picker app or a to-do list, and they were all trash.
They might have been beautiful, but they didn't do anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
David, from your experience, 5 years with this, it's, I guess, technically still a startup, but you seem to be pretty well established. But more interestingly is when you started without the AI, but now you use AI very commonly in the business. What would you give a new entrepreneur or a new startup as your 3 pieces of advice? But see if you can connect it from the fundamental knowledge you had, and then now how they can use AI as well.
I think first you start big, actually, not so small, on what your vision, what your moonshot is, what your great outcome is, because those will end up being the things that are more aspirational that you want to get to. And then the second one would be create systems of accountability. And those could be family and friends, mentors, accelerators, advisors, and eventually hopefully the board members. And then the third thing I would say is celebrate the small successes, because startups, entrepreneurship is a tough road, and you've got to at least stop and be able to celebrate the small successes. There's going to be a lot of times when things are not good and you're beating yourself up. And play my kids' case, for example, anytime we finished successfully planning kids plan for parents, we would just send an email, and it was just a celebratory. You've helped empower or enable a parent, and you helped to enrich the life of a kid. And those little things are the things that just keep you going back to that great outcome.
Sounds good. So if anybody wants to learn more about you or about Plan My Kids, where's the best place for them to find you?
You can find us at planmykids.com, and you can find me on LinkedIn at n/Watkins. And for any parents that are listening to a podcast, you can use promo code BigPixel25 and get 5% off.
No, look at
plan.
that.
Nice.
We're part of a promo code, Gary. I feel so big.
We've made it. We finally made it.
We did it.
This is our version of having sponsored content.
It's our first ad. Yay!
Nice. So we'll get the residuals for that when, David?
That's right. I get to keep that 25%. Is that right? No.
Awesome. We'll put those links in the show notes for anybody that's interested.
On that note, thank you so much, David, for joining us. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate all the work you're doing, and it's been a great conversation.
We will be back next week, everybody. Have a good one.
See you.
That wraps up this episode of the Biz Dev Podcast. And this time you get me, Scott Bailey. I am the lead dev over here at Big Pixel, and I know what you're thinking. I thought David did all the work. Well, not exactly. We have an awesome team of people to back him up. BizDev is a production of Big Pixel, a US-based provider of UX design, strategy, and custom software. This podcast is edited by Audio Wiz, Matt McCracken, and Christy Pronto, marketing guru for Big Pixel. Want to connect? Shoot us an email at hello@thebigpixel.net, or you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, and LinkedIn.